Welcome to RPPV News, bringing you stories from across the Mornington Peninsula. I'm Catie Sharp, and our top items for this edition are: we head into the last step of lockdown restrictions. We welcome the new mayors of Frankston and the Peninsula. Detonated dramas in Dramana. Sea Road ferries are back with a big giveaway. And RPPV continues its investigation into the Hillview Quarry expansion. Now for the full stories. With weeks of zero cases, we are moving into the final step of Victoria's COVID-19 restrictions. Shivani Pillai takes us through the details.
Today, we make our first move into the last step of COVID-19 restrictions. From 11:59 p.m. tonight, up to 15 people can visit one household at a time, and up to 50 people can gather outdoors from any number of households. This excludes infants under 12 months old. That means 15 people from any number of households can book holiday accommodation together. From the 13th of December, you can have 30 visitors to your home across one day. Again, this doesn't include infants under 12 months old. Just in time for the warmer weather, masks no longer have to be worn when you're outdoors, unless you can't socially distance, so carry one with you. They must be worn indoors in all settings, as this is where the virus is most likely to be transferred, and that includes public transport. Premier Daniel Andrews' helpful example was that if you go to Bunnings, you must wear a mask inside the store. You don't need one in the car park, but if you're in a queue for a sausage, put on the mask. From the 30th of November, 25% of staff in private companies can return to the office. Public service workers will stay at home to give capacity to the private sector. All of the following changes will take effect from 11:59 p.m. tonight. All activities must be arranged using the density quotient of 1 person per 4 square metres. We can exercise indoors, doing both contact and non-contact sports in group sizes of up to 20 with a total of 150 people, as long as it meets the density quotient. Large sporting venues can open with a 25% venue cap. Indoor pools will have a cap of 150 people, excluding supervisors, while outdoor pools will have a cap of 300. Outdoor sports will have a patron cap of 500 in groups of 50. Indoor skate parks and trampolining centres can host up to 150 people with group sizes of no more than 20 trampolines. Indoor religious ceremonies will increase to a maximum of 150 people, while outdoor gatherings go up to 300. Both indoor and outdoor weddings and funerals increase to 150 people. If weddings and funerals are being held in a private home, however, the private gathering limit applies of 15. Small cafes, restaurants and pubs can now host 50 people indoors with 1 person for every square 2 metres. Large hospitality venues can host 150 people indoors with the 4 square metre quotient. Total venue capacity will rise to up to 300 patrons. Cinemas, theatres, museums and small galleries can host up to 150 people. Larger galleries can have up to 25% venue cap. Drive-ins will have no cap. Community venues can now host up to 150 people. Higher education can return to campus for summer learning. Gaming venues can reopen, but every second gaming machine must be switched off. That's it for the latest update. Premier Andrews has one more update on the 6th of December, which he says will be the last changes for this year. Thank you to everyone who has worked hard to keep our most vulnerable in the community safe. Back to you, Catie.
Thank you, Shivani. Frankston and the Shire have new mayors. Our new councils took the oath of office last Monday and elected a mayor and deputy mayor for each region. Chris Bolam is about to start his second stint as mayor of Frankston, having previously held the role at the tender age of 24, when he was one of the youngest ever councillors to be elected mayor in Victoria. Chris, who represents the North West Ward, is the only Frankston councillor to have been returned to office at the recent elections. He will be ably supported by new councillor and Deputy Mayor Nathan Conroy of the North East Ward. Meanwhile, Mornington Peninsula Shire has elected 2 brand new councillors to the posts, and it's the first time 2 women have held the roles at the same time. Representative of the Briars Ward, Despi O'Connor, has been elected mayor, and Sarah Race of the Nepean Ward will act as deputy. RPPV was at the annual council meeting and got to speak to both the new mayor and deputy mayor of the Shire.
Congratulations, Mayor O'Connor. You were a clear favourite, both here in council and also with the community. What's your vision for the Mornington Peninsula?
I'm really hoping that I can be the ear and listen to people in this community. I really want to really lift that community voice, and I did say that I've said that a few times now with RPPFM, that is the thing I want to do. I want to have the community here with me in this journey. So that's what I aim to do.
Now, when did you first decide to put your name forward and take that brave step to be a councillor, and now you're the mayor of the Mornington Peninsula?
Yeah, so I guess back in July was about thinking about being a councillor. Never did I think that at that point that I would be mayor.
30 years of community service on various boards and committees.
Yes.
And also you have a background in teaching. What qualities do you think they'll bring, that is the experience that you've had, to the council and to the Mornington Peninsula?
Yeah, I really believe that it's the way I build relationships that is going to be key to this. I think working together with people will bring about change in the way that people want to see it. But it is relationship building, and that's what I've learnt, from the moment, it's probably more than 30 years, from the moment I coached my first basketball team at the age of 15, that's probably when I realised as well, and it's grown, that those learnings and understandings and relationships are key.
And with COVID, Mornington Peninsula, like everywhere, but particularly down here where many are very isolated, there's still issues to do with poverty, homelessness, and of course you've got so many businesses that have suffered. You've talked about nurturing,
Yes.
Strengthening, striving. What do you say to the Mornington Peninsula community who have suffered so greatly during COVID?
Yeah, I guess I get this opportunity to go through that journey beside them now as mayor. I really do want to make sure that I'm reaching out and connecting with people on a very personal level. I have a lot of empathy and compassion for others, and that's probably seen in the work that I've done, whether it's been teaching or working with community groups. So yeah, that's where it's going to start, listening, feeling, and I really want to take that right through this year.
Congratulations, Deputy Mayor Race. You won by a clear majority, and you've clearly resonated with both the councillors and with the community. What's your vision that you're going to be bringing, particularly as we come out of COVID and look ahead on the Mornington Peninsula?
Well, my vision is really to work with the community. When I was out campaigning, they, in a lot of ways, they didn't feel like they were heard. So it's about listening and taking the time to listen and to really evaluate what's going on out there. So I'd really like to listen to the community, hear what they want from the council in general, and then make that happen.
And in terms of your vision for business, what's on your agenda in terms of improving their plight?
Well, first of all, to listen to them and get them in a room and hear from what they want. But also, I think I spoke about it in when I was campaigning. I think we need to look at what we can do on the high streets. Many of our high streets have got empty shops, and we need to figure out what we can do as a council to maybe use those empty shops and bring people back to the high street. Maybe it's having live music venues, because I heard a lot about that, or art galleries or pop-up spaces for emerging artists or things like that. Just really interesting stuff. But also the council has a responsibility to look at where they spend their money. We can choose to spend our money with local businesses. So I'll be looking to see if we can do that sort of thing as well.
Meanwhile, Mornpen News has reported the Peninsula Aero Club reached out to the new Shire Council last week to see if differences could be resolved before a planned VCAT hearing in April. The president of the Aero Club reportedly invited the councillors to a meeting this weekend, which, according to Mornpen News, Councillor Mercurio has encouraged his colleagues to attend. A Dramana beach box owner had a nasty surprise last week when he uncovered explosives buried in the sand. The man was clearing sand away around the box when he discovered a length of pipe which contained electronic detonators. He took the pipe to Rosebud Police Station where it was removed and made safe. Rosebud Police cordoned off the beach while bomb squad sniffer dogs checked the rest of the area. No other explosives were found and beachgoers were given the all clear to return. When we come back, part 2 of Shivani Pillai's interview with Dr. Mark Fansett of the Peninsula Preservation Group.
Hey, they're saying the fire danger rating's extreme. Should we go?
There's no fire around here.
Get out!
I know embers can spread bushfires as far as 40 kilometres. So you should leave early.
Authorised by the Victorian Government.
More and more people with a taste for quality are shopping at Eliza Meats. Kevin and his lean team pride themselves on the finest cuts, from juicy steaks and roasts to high-grade mince and sausages. And Eliza Meats are the gourmet specialists. Inquire about Eliza Meats Spit Hire. Phone 9787 4473 for a mouth-watering meal fit for a king. It's all at Eliza Meats. See our sponsor Kevin at Eliza Meats, 112B Mount Eliza Way, a station sponsor.
Welcome back. We go now to the second half of Shivani Pillai's interview with Dr. Mark Fansett as part of our investigation into Hillview Quarry's proposed expansion on Arthur's Seat.
Hillview will say, this is our land.
It is their land.
It's private land. We should be able to do what we want with that land because this is where our land is, and they have provided employment. I understand it's only about 35 at the moment, but if this goes ahead, there'll be a lot more local employment. And interestingly, and I'm not sure how it all fits in, but they're a charitable trust which includes an arm of charity to conservation.
Yes.
So how does that work?
Okay, there's a few points there about being their own land. As any of us know, living on the peninsula, if I want to chop down a tree on my property, I would have to get an arborist in to make sure it was appropriate. I'd have to probably go for a permit at the council. I'd have to put a revegetation plan in. There are strict environmental controls on what's available. Just because you own a land doesn't give you open slather to do what you want to do, whether it's a person like me, an individual, or whether it's a massive company like that. With respect to the charity, they are a charity, and then they're a very unusual charity because I haven't been able to find any evidence of any other charity that actually get all of their money from an industrial development.
A business.
A business. They are a business, and they get all the perks of being a charity. They don't pay taxes. They don't pay royalties on the rock they remove. So there's not a huge contribution to the government. They only employ 35 people
currently.
And if that quarry opens, they've said that those 35 will go over there. The trust was set up as an environmental trust. In the will of Roy Ross, he actually stipulated in his will that I want you to give money from my trust to the acquisition, preservation and maintenance of national and public parks. So that's a direct quote from the document that set up this trust. So that was why they were set up. And now we have them donating to a plethora of environmental groups. Most of those groups being environmental groups that work on biolinks, and yet they're going to sever that very biolink that we've been working on.
It seems to be such a stark contradiction, and it's just
hard to fathom, because if they
hard.
are so committed to conservation, why target this land now? They seem to have money. Perhaps, are there other sites that they can acquire?
They make on average about $6 million a year in profit.
That's on the current old smaller quarry?
Yes, so that would possibly go up. Obviously there'll be expenses setting up equipment and infrastructure there. And they donate about $4 million a year. But they certainly have assets of quite extensive assets, and they have an investment portfolio of 51 million at the state. So they do have a lot of finances. We met with the trustees last year and we outlined all of our environmental concerns. The hypocrisy of destroying a biolink so that they can actually fund biolinks. And they actually offered to fund our biolink work, which we're doing here on the edge of their... So the very biolink they actually want to destroy, they're, with the other hand, offering to fund them. So the hypocrisy is crazy, and we put all this to them. And at the end of an hour-long conversation, they said they own the land, it's the easiest way for them to make money, and the chair of the trust, Jeff Nicholson, said, my only concern, this is as an environmental trust, my only concern is to ensure that the trust exists in perpetuity. He just wants to keep the trust going at any cost.
My understanding is Hillview's a donor. For example, they donate to the school itself, where the issues are arising, it appears.
They donate some rock to
and
the school.
They donate their rock that they excavate to the school. They made and have donated something like 132 million to various charities,
Yes.
including environmental
Yes.
organisations as of May 2019.
Yes.
So is that an issue for them, I suppose, that you can perceive that they might perhaps diminish in terms of and evaporate as a business and as a charity, I should say?
Look, we've gone through all the different organisations and projects they've donated to, and they've donated to a huge number of worthwhile charities. No question about that. Everything from the arts to education to look at economic disadvantage. But we go back to the fact that they were set up as an environmental trust. The very man that established this trust wanted them to protect the environment. Now, in the past, they've only donated about 5% of their profits to the environment. Okay? In the last 18 months, they've gone from donating about $300,000 or $400,000 maximum to the environment to 2.6 million in the last 9 months. Yes.
Many local organisations, particularly here, obviously in Mornington Peninsula and in this area, receiving money from Hillview by way of donations. They wouldn't be standing up against the quarry for that reason, would they?
It's very much standard practice for quarries around the world to actually do this, to actually donate to significant groups in a community.
Tell me about your petition. So the Peninsula Preservation Group, Save Arthur's Seat, with the big banners that we see out there that say "Off Our Seat," with a big koala, is it?
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the status now? How many have signed up to that petition?
I think at last look we had about 19,600, so almost 20,000, and that's gone up almost 8,000 in the last 6 weeks. So it's really starting to take off. We've been for a walk this morning. We took some other people through this morning, and we saw a swamp wallaby, and we saw there's a pair of crimson rosellas that are nesting in a tree.
I've got plenty.
You can see them sitting on the eggs. So these amazing things. We're near the quarry, and there's a peregrine falcon that is nesting there, and you could hear that screeching. It does. It lifts you up. We need these places, and that's one thing that certainly with lockdown is the number of people that have been coming in. That people need to reconnect with nature.
Where to from here? So we have an environmental effects statement in a couple of years. You've got this petition. What's the purpose of that? That's a petition to the state government?
Yes. The state government can pull the proposal, so they can say, this is just crazy, we don't want it. Stop
now.
It. They can do that now, if they have the power to do that now. What's going to happen, as it stands, that the time has sort of moved out a little bit. I don't know whether that's because of COVID or because some of their reports are lacking. So they're continually, as it is now, submitting drafts and being told, yes, that's all right, or go back and fix up that. So we don't know exactly when it's going to finish. When it does finish, we'll have 4 weeks to look at a mountain of reports.
And when you say we, not just the Peninsula Preservation
Anyone.
Group, but anyone can go and have a look at those reports and statements and contribute.
So the Planning Department have a group called the Technical Reference Group that are working with Hillview. There's no communication with the public. We know nothing about what's going on. So they're working with Hillview in cooperation to help Hillview get their reports to a satisfactory standard. So it would have representatives from Department of Environment, Delworth, it would have Melbourne Water representatives, EPA representatives, and I think there is a council rep on that as well. When those reports are handed out, we have 4 weeks to voice our objections, okay? After that 4 weeks, the Technical Reference Group will come up with a conclusion. So they will say, this is what we think. They'll give that to the Planning Minister, Richard Wynne, and he can decide to accept their recommendations or go against their recommendations. But we have no voice of appeal. So that's the advantage of these developers going through this process.
There's no appeal.
There's no appeal.
Dr. Fansett, where's your motivation come from? Because your background is as a teacher.
Yeah.
And your wife too is involved. She's the secretary of the Peninsula Preservation Group and Save Arthur's Seat.
Yeah.
What is inspiring this impetus from you? How did you become the leader of this organisation?
Well, my grandparents moved down here in the 50s, and I've been coming down here since I was a child and going to the OT Dam and catching yabbies and swimming and whatever and walking through the bush. And we now live down here, and I travel through here 2 or 3 times a week, and it's just uplifting. It's just, you've got the birds, you know, you'll be running along and there'll be an echidna or something, or some amazing orchid. The place is just alive, and it just fills you with a sort of, it really is satisfying, you know, after you've gone for a walk or you've been in a place like this, it's very relaxing. It's not like sitting in an office and the frustrations all go away, and it's, even though we're only 1 kilometre from Dramana and the freeway, you feel like you're 1,000,000 miles from. And we want to actually, the trustees to take responsibility for this as well, because they take a step back and the pressure is on Hillview Quarries, but they are the ones that are actually.
You don't hear much about the trustees.
No, they don't want people to hear a lot about it. And as I said, we met with these trustees late last year, October, and I held up a beautiful picture of the waterfall, and you can see it on our website, water cascading down, and I said to one of the trustees, I just held it up, and she said, oh, that's beautiful, where is it? And I said, well, that's stage 1 of your quarry, that's the first thing that will go. And she sort of said, oh, and didn't say anything. And I said, would you like to come in and see it? You know, you've got a responsibility. You are the trustee that is going to sign off on that paper to send the bulldozers in to bulldoze 93 acres. And she said, no, we don't do that. We pay people to go in and make recommendations to us.
Is there a prospect of the state government purchasing the site?
We've had numerous state members of parliament in here, and also federal members of parliament. And without any prompting, when we take them in and we show them the site, they say that this should be part of the state park.
Well, Greg Hunt, federal MP and obviously the Health Minister and
former Environment Minister,
and member for Flinders, has voiced strong opposition to the proposal on the basis of environmental issues.
Greg's been very supportive. He's been into the site and seen the site, and I remember clearly him standing up there just gobsmacked at how stunning this place is. And he said the same thing. It should be part of the state park. I did try to hit him up for some money at that time, but he said money was pretty tight. But this is the wrong decision. Okay, I don't mind them having a quarry, but you pick a site that is appropriate. We have heaps of granite. Yes, we need lots of granite, but government reports have said that granite is not needed on the peninsula. We're not building bridges down here. We're not building tunnels down here. We're not building railways. That's happening in Melbourne, and there are reserves of granite, extensive reserves of granite. much closer to Melbourne, and the government reports actually state, an actual government report written by Richard Wynne, the current planning minister, has actually said that this quarry is not a critical site. It is not needed. There are massive reserves of granite existing to the east of Melbourne where it's needed.
Well, Dr. Fansett, it's been enlightening.
Yeah.
Much of it is on social media, on your Save Arthur's Seat website.
Yes, but we really need people to stand up and say to their local members, not just down here, but in Melbourne as well, and say, look, we're not going to stand for this, okay? You're our representatives, do what we want you to do. And people have that power. If enough people speak up, it will happen and we'll stop this.
Dr. Mark Fansett, thank you so much for your invaluable time today and in such a beautiful location.
It is beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
RPPV will continue this special report over the coming weeks. An analysis of storm-related insurance claims over the past year has revealed the Mornington Peninsula is a storm hotspot, with the fourth highest number of insurance claims made for storm-related damage. The stormiest local town was Mornington, followed by Mount Martha, then Mount Eliza. The SES warned us to protect our homes and ourselves by securing outdoor items such as umbrellas and trampolines, and to check on vulnerable neighbours after a storm has passed. The Victorian Police launched Operation Safeguard this week, targeted at people displaying reckless behaviour that could lead to bushfires. Anyone found guilty of recklessly or intentionally causing a bushfire faces a penalty of up to 15 years imprisonment. The most common causes of recklessly lit fires are burning off, campfires, car exhausts, using tools such as angle grinders and welding equipment out in the open, bonfires, flares, and farming machinery. Anyone who witnesses suspicious behaviour as it is occurring should call 000, and anyone with information should contact Crime Stoppers. And Sea Road ferries are back to a full timetable, with ferries travelling between Sorrento and Queenscliff every hour upon the hour. While masks are now required when walking around the ferry, passengers have the option to wait in their car for the 40-minute journey. But that's not all. To celebrate the end of lockdown, Sea Road Ferries has a $1 million ticket giveaway. To claim your free ticket, go to freeferrytickets.com.au and fill in your details. It's as simple as that. Now we go to Alana with the coming week's weather report.
Hello there. I was too busy enjoying my cuppa in front of my caravan. It's Alana here with your RPPV 7-day weather forecast for the Mornington Peninsula. Saturday the 21st of November, it's looking like we'll have a lovely sunny top of 24 degrees. You can expect partly cloudy conditions throughout most of the morning, but they'll clear for a sunny afternoon. Heading into Sunday, we'll have a low of 15 degrees and a top of 26. You can expect a sunny morning, but that will bring in a late change with a thunderstorm, showers, and up to 6 millimetres of rain. Heading into Monday, it looks like that rain will hang around. We'll have a low of 14 degrees and a top of 20, but you can expect up to 10 millimetres of rain throughout the day on Monday. Heading into Tuesday though, that rain will be easing. We'll have partly cloudy conditions throughout most of the day and a top of 19 degrees. On Wednesday, our low of 11 will climb to a sunny top of 25, when our partly cloudy conditions in the morning will ease for a beautiful sunny afternoon. We'll have similar warm conditions on Thursday, when you can expect a top of 25 degrees and a mostly sunny day. On Friday, our low of 14 degrees will climb to a maximum temperature of 29, when you can expect a mostly sunny day and only some light winds throughout the afternoon. So I'll be enjoying the serenity and listening to the magpies and galahs, and I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you next week.
And now to our man on the coast, Muzz, with the Surf Report.
Hi, and welcome to this week's Mornington Peninsula Surf Report. We had a great run of waves last week, right through till Sunday, so I hope everyone got in the surf. It got a little busy and a bit hectic a few days, but basically when you get 6 days of waves out of 7, you've got nothing to complain about. A couple of those days were nearly as good as they get, so I hope you enjoyed it. This week doesn't look quite as good, although midweek to Thursday the wind is going to swing around and get quite warm, so there's a decent chance of waves and maybe a bit of a push in the swell earlier midweek. Thursday will have the best conditions. I think Friday the swell's going to pick up quite substantially, but the wind will probably change and be onshore. Thursday may be a bit solid on the beaches. For experienced surfers, you'll probably get wet. Others might have to look elsewhere. So offshore conditions, as you can see, today's a very windy day and it's a bay wave. So the bay wave as in Port Phillip Bay wave in this wind. So enjoy, guys, and here's a little bit of what's there.
And that's all from our team here at RPPV News, serving the community with stories that matter to you. Thank you for keeping our region safe by keeping your distance and wearing a mask. Be sure to shop and dine locally wherever possible. Keep watching and do tell your friends. Bringing you the news from coast to coast across the Mornington Peninsula, I'm Catie Sharp. See you for the next edition.